On Tech News Today, Twitch expands beyond gaming streams. Plus, Apple is working on a kludge for charging its funky pencil stylus. And Google plans to combine Chrome and Android. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, October 30th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service that's the most sophisticated way for you to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/TNT to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/TNT. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. My name is Mike Elgan, and our co-anchor today is Mashable senior tech correspondent Christina Warren. How you doing, Christina?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing great. You know, we had a reviewer on the show yesterday telling us all about the Apple TV, but I want a second opinion. What do you think of the new Apple TV?
It's awesome. It's awesome. You know, I don't know if it's the future of TV, but I also don't think it has to be. I have literally, and I'm looking at them right now, I have every single set-top box basically ever made, going way, way back. And I really think that for right now, at least for what's available on the market, 4K support notwithstanding, which I think is frankly okay because I don't even have a 4K TV and I live for this stuff. The Apple TV as it exists right now is the best available on the market.
That's cool. And of course, the new Siri integration is pretty cool. You were telling me before the show started about how specific it can get.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, this is honestly why I think it's so good. I mean, I would actually pair that with a caveat. I think it's really good, especially if you're already in the Apple ecosystem. I think if you don't have a lot of other Apple products, something like the Roku 4 or even the Fire TV 2 might be just as good for you. But I think if you have at least one Apple product in your house, it's great. But what makes it really great is Siri. You know, the voice search stuff is not new. The first Fire TV did that a year and a half ago. But what makes Siri better is that it searches across apps, inside apps, and across different services. So we were riffing earlier, and I mentioned offhandedly, I was like, I was quoting lyrics from the theme song for the OC California, and that reminded me that I could actually go directly to the OC episode where Colin Hanks is a guest star. That's in season 1, and sure enough, if I say, take me to the episode of the OC with Colin Hanks, it will do that. If I say take me to the Gossip Girl series finale, it will do that. If I want it to go like the Friends episode with Julia Roberts, it will do that. And that's really cool. You can also do things like, show me Tom Cruise movies on Netflix, show me only good movies, show me only bad movies.
Wow.
And it's only going to get better. Apple says they're going to have a whole SDK so developers for other apps can build that support in it. And so what I'm hoping will happen is that, you'll see stuff like, companies like Plex building Apple TV apps that will be able to take advantage of this functionality, and I'll be able to pull up all the stuff that I don't just have on streaming services, but have on my NAS box to pull up too. And so it's good. Siri on the TV, I have to say, is my favorite Siri implementation yet. And I think it's because it works so well, and also because it just tends to make sense in the living room in a way that it doesn't make sense on every other platform. And I think that's kind of been something we've seen with Siri over time, is that ironically, I think I use Siri the least on my phone because the assistant is just so much better in other contexts.
The other thing about Siri is that she keeps her mouth shut on the TV. Do you think there's any reason that you can discern why they didn't just give a full implementation of Siri? In other words, enable you to talk to the remote, talk to Siri, and get random information or find out about your schedule, that sort of thing?
I think it's a couple things. I think one, they don't want to make the assumption that, your the person using the Apple TV in the living room might want all of their schedule and other iCloud information up to anybody else. I think they understand that multiple people use an Apple TV. So if you've got your iCloud account attached, I don't know if my husband's saying, show me my schedule for 2 o'clock, he wouldn't see his schedule. He would see mine because we're logged in using my iTunes account. So I think that's part of it. And I also think that you enter a place where you don't necessarily know if you want your TV talking back to you. That's one of the things I like about it, that I think some of the other platforms out there have sort of struggled with, which is how to display information. I like being able to say, show me, the weather, and it'll pop up on the screen smaller, or I can pull it up bigger. The same thing with sports scores. But if I'm watching something on TV, I don't necessarily want to be interrupted with another, disembodied voice.
Well, I'm looking forward to trying it. Of course, it's a little more pricey than other things, but it's an Apple product, so what are you going to do?
Well, that's a fair point. And like I said, if you're deep in the Android ecosystem, if you're deep in Amazon's ecosystem, I think that the Roku still has a great selection, and I haven't tried the Fire TV 2 yet in depth. I've just played with it a little bit, but I love the original Fire TV. So there are definitely good options out there. But even though it is more expensive, I have to say the universal search and the Siri stuff alone really do make me just go, yeah, you know what? This is my favorite way to watch TV right now. And I don't say that as an Apple fangirl. I say that as somebody who genuinely has purchased on her own every single set-top box basically in existence. And it's hard for me to kind of get excited by these things, but this one's a good one.
Yeah, and people your mother can say, oh, show me Tech News Today, but only the Christina Warren ones.
Hey, if we update our metadata, then we could do that, and that would be amazing.
And we will. All right, let's jump into the regular news. The Wall Street Journal reported in an exclusive yesterday that Google plans to combine Chrome OS with Android. The new combined operating system is expected in 2017, according to the article, with a preview expected at Google's developer conference, Google I/O, next year. The journal piece implied that Chrome would be phased out in favor of Android, but Google has told several news outlets that Chrome OS will continue to exist as a separate platform. Christina, why would they do this? It doesn't seem to me at first glance like a good idea.
Really? Because I've been expecting this for years, like even before Sundar took over both parts. Like I've honestly been expecting this for years because it almost seems superfluous. I mean, they're trying to do two similar things. I mean, I think that at this point, especially with some of the Chrome's book's big advantage and Chrome OS's big advantage is obviously the operating system, and it kind of runs on this very lean kind of Linux underpinnings. But a lot of the core experiences that you're trying to do with the two of them are the same. The downside with Chrome, of course, or Chrome OS is that it doesn't have some of those third-party app experiences that you might want. And so there's a way you can actually play some or access some Android apps within Chrome. To me, it just feels like they're fit for one another. I mean, in a perfect world, you would be able to get Chrome on Android to be every bit as good as Chrome on the desktop or Chrome OS. Now, how long that'll take, I don't know, but it just feels like, especially when you look at like the Chromebook Pixel, or the Pixel tablet, what's it called?
The Pixel C, for the Android version?
The Pixel C, yeah, the Pixel C. Like that to me just seems like the most pure example of like this is clearly going to happen. I mean, Android's going to become the king for all this stuff, and it might take a bit longer to make sure that everything on the web browser side can be as much of a complete citizen. But I mean, I feel like it's a natural reaction. Why do you feel like it feels weird? Because
Android is the most compromised from a security perspective operating system ever. 87% of implementations of Android have been compromised by serious security problems. And Chrome is the most secure operating system that's in somewhat mainstream use. And I just like the psychological idea that when I'm using a Chromebook, that I'm in this pure cloud experience, and I can proceed to use it with that knowledge, and it's very reassuring to me. When I go into Android, Android is an awesome operating system for phones and tablets, but it's a completely different mindset when you use it. I feel like I'm out in the wild, kind of, to a certain extent, and Android is already the biggest operating system in history, and Chrome OS is pretty much in the periphery. It doesn't even rank very highly, but I think it has a great place in education. I think it's great for some executives or people who are into security or as a second device. I like the way it is now, and of course, as we mentioned, The Verge and other publications have pointed out that Google intends to continue to offer Chrome OS as a separate platform. But I just don't necessarily see the benefit of combining Chrome OS in Android when you can just have the Chrome browser. And if they could just make the Chrome browser on Android more capable and allow, for example, extensions,
Sure,
that sort of thing.
but don't you think that's what'll happen? I mean, if you look at their underpinnings, I mean, obviously they're both based on the Linux kernel. I could see a world where maybe you don't have the same Android experience on a Chromebook that you would have on a tablet. Maybe it is, jailed a little bit more. Maybe there's, a little bit more Linuxy bits kind of put into place. I mean, they're certainly doing things with Marshmallow that's hoping to make security better. I don't know. To me, it just feels like it's a lot of repeated tasks. It feels like you're trying to do a lot of the same things in two places, and that seems like a lot of wasted effort. And to me, it feels like maybe the only way to maybe make Chrome on Android better is to combine efforts, because otherwise, Chrome on Android does feel like kind of a second-class citizen if you look where it is on the desktop or certainly on Chrome OS. I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying about the security stuff, but to me, it just feels like it's a natural way for them to go. Of course, that wouldn't mean that they couldn't offer different, I guess, implementations where maybe, you have your app spaces running almost in a VM of sorts, in a kind of a virtual environment, so that it's siloed away from some of your other data, and the browser part is running in kind of a different instance. I don't know how they'll do that, but I don't know. To me, I've seen the writing on the wall for this for a long time, and I think that Pixel C was kind of the first sign where we're showing, okay, they're clearly not content to let Chrome OS be the only way that you can kind of get real productivity done. They want Android to do it too. So I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the first thing that everybody started chattering about in March of 2013 when Andy Rubin stepped down and they handed Android to Sundar Pichai was, oh my God, they're going to combine these two operating systems.
Yeah.
And then we kind of forgot about that. And now it's really happening, apparently. Well, anyway, we'll hopefully get more details about how and when, et cetera, what's it going to look like over the coming weeks if Google actually comes out and makes an official statement about this. More news coming right up. But before that, I want to tell you about ZipRecruiter, the best way by far to hire people. You want to hire great people. And where are the great people? I'll tell you where they are. They're everywhere. They are on dozens and dozens of sites out there, and you don't know where that best person is. And so when you use ZipRecruiter, and you will use ZipRecruiter because it's the way to do it, you'd have to be nuts to not use ZipRecruiter if you're hiring. They will let you post to 100-plus job sites with a single click, including social networks, and that is how you find the best employees. It's just, there's nothing else like it. It's nothing else that's been used by so many people. More than 400,000 businesses are using ZipRecruiter, and you can try it for free. One of the great things about ZipRecruiter is, of course, hiring is rarely something that you do on your own. Unless you're a super small business and it's just you, it's usually something that involves multiple people. You want to vet the employees. You want to bring in other people into the process. With ZipRecruiter, they don't penalize you for having multiple people involved. They incentivize that, and they do that by not charging you any extra if you have additional people involved in your job search. And that is just a wonderful thing. They are super, you think of it as this service that you use, but in fact, they're advocates of you hiring the best people, of matching the best candidates with the employers who are going to hire those candidates. And they do it with all the incredible services that they offer for everything that even dips into the AR category. They do it through their database of resumes, which is just enormous, more than 6 million people in that resume database. They do it with their blog, where they're constantly educating their users on what the best practices are for hiring, and they want you to be successful. That's really ultimately what ZipRecruiter is in the business of. ZipRecruiter is in the business of making you successful. We have a user testimonial from Scott who said, quote, "The recruiting process used to be so painful. Before I'd post to several places, get a million resumes, but only a few responses from qualified candidates. It was torture. But with ZipRecruiter, we post once and get qualified candidates in one easy-to-review place. We've hired some of our best employees using ZipRecruiter," unquote. Today, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. And we also thank them for helping us to hire some great people. Well, in other news, Sprint announced today what they're framing as a groundbreaking, industry-leading new unlimited data plan. Kellen Barranger is the editor-in-chief of Droid Life and joins us now. Welcome to the show, Kellen.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thanks for coming on. Is Sprint's plan groundbreaking, industry-leading, new, or unlimited?
It's not. I was a little critical of them in their announcement, but they're calling it unlimited, and that's the big splashy term up front. But it's really a 1 gigabyte data plan where you get 1 gigabyte of fast data, and then they slow you down after that. It's not even.
They
close
slow you down
to
the point you don't want to even use it anymore because you're like, really.
Yeah, they slow you down to 2G speeds, which I wasn't even sure still existed, but they slow you down to 2G, and then you can't even download.
Let's be real, 2G on Sprint speeds are worse than like 2G on like T-Mobile or AT&T because like CDMA, for people who don't remember, I mean that stuff was bad. Pre-EVDO, like Sprint speeds, my God.
Yeah, it's not really a good plan. I don't think somebody should consider, especially if it's one of those plans where no one's walking around the street telling people I have unlimited on Sprint. They're telling people I have a 1 gig plan, right? So
yeah. Now, didn't AT&T get in trouble for being less than honest about its unlimited plan? And is it legal for Sprint to essentially lie like this?
I think as long as they're completely upfront about it. And so they've kind of been really upfront that, they're calling it unlimited. And then there's this sort of sub headline under everything they're doing where it says, where you get 1 gig of high speed. So they're at least trying to be semi upfront. AT&T got in trouble because, as far as I know, they were telling you it was unlimited. And then they sort of had this secretive cap where if you hit it, they were then throttling you down. And they just weren't exactly upfront about it. And so, they got in some trouble about that.
Well, if you look up the word unlimited in the dictionary, the definition is, quote, not limited or restricted in terms of number, quantity, or extent, unquote. So they're lying.
But the other carriers lie about this stuff too, don't they, Kellen? I mean, Sprint obviously I think is being more egregious than a lot of people have, and they're certainly being more egregious than they were when they were acquired by SoftBank a couple of years ago. They used to make a big deal about claiming that they were the only really unlimited carrier, but the other carriers lie too, right?
Yeah, so it's not just Sprint. This isn't new, obviously. T-Mobile's been doing it for a number of years now. Ever since John Ledger took them over, did their whole uncarrier thing. They've done this unlimited, except they just don't seem to be pushing the unlimited side of it. Like they actually sell an unlimited that's actually unlimited plan, and then they have these other tiers like what Sprint's doing. Sprint's just kind of coming out and saying, everyone, this is unlimited, and it's really not, which is what's so bad about it, I think.
To me, the worst part is the 2G bit. I mean, there's no discernible difference between a 2G connection and having no connection. It's pretty much the same thing, and I think it's hilarious because just this week, Facebook announced that they want Facebook developers to really understand the pain and suffering that Indian users suffer because they have 2G connections. So once a week, they're calling it something Tuesday. They're calling it 2G Tuesday, where they're offering optionally for Facebook employees to use 2G for an hour. And if they can get through an entire hour of 2G, then they'll start to begin to understand how horrible and unacceptable it is to use the internet with a 2G connection. I mean, this is just, it's like they might as well just turn it off after 1G. I mean, this is such a token.
I was going to say, I mean, at this point, so what they should really do is they should just force Facebook employees to be Sprint customers.
Exactly. Yeah, well, they're not that cruel. So anyway, what are you going to do? All right, Kellen. Well, Kellen Barranger is at droid-life.com and on Twitter at droid_life. Kellen, well, thank you so much for coming on Tech News today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. The live game streaming site Twitch yesterday announced a new community for non-gamers. It's called Twitch Creative, and it's a live streaming service for musicians and artists. And as part of the launch of Twitch Creative, all 403 episodes of Bob Ross's former PBS show, The Joy of Painting, are streaming on the network. The Bob Ross Marathon started yesterday at 2 p.m. Pacific and will continue for 200 hours. The Joy of Painting aired on PBS stations from 1983 to 1994. Before we get into our guests, let's check in on the live Joy of Painting Marathon, now in progress.
Such a nice painting because it's very simple to do. It works. This one will work on your first attempt. It's that easy. Now, I've got most of the paint off the end of the bristles.
Better than taking a sedative.
Far, far away.
So oh my God, it's so good. How many people are watching right now?
Can you scroll down a little bit? I think it's 52,000, 62,000?
This tree and you.
You realize more people are watching Bob Ross on a show that's been off the air for more than 20 years than are tuned into any of the cable networks at the current time, right?
That is
because
astonishing.
Cable news networks, this is amazing. This is fantastic.
The triumph and the glory of Bob Ross and his amazing magical afro.
It looks like a natural place.
That is awesome. I love it. Absolutely love it. So Dean Takahashi is our guest today. Dean Takahashi is the lead writer for GamesBeat at VentureBeat and joins us now. Dean, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really inspired to take up painting all of a sudden. So I'll have to wait till after the show.
It's pretty addictive watching, isn't it?
It's like a drug. It's amazing. It just arrests you, and you're just like, it's stopped in your tracks, and you get sucked in. It's like a tractor beam. Well, you wrote that Twitch creative content has been streaming for some time, and that it's growing 40% every month, and already has 2 million viewers a month. What's the new part that actually launched yesterday?
Well, they just really set aside a brand new channel for it. Before they were Twitch, they started as Justin TV. And they had room for a lot of wide variety of different kinds of content besides gameplay live streaming. But as gameplay took off, they turned themselves into Twitch, and they didn't really have a place for these other kinds of things like artists or musicians streaming anymore. So they're sort of going back now and restoring that. Those people have always been there, but now they have a particular channel to go to and broadcast to their fans. So Twitch Creative is just for them.
So will musicians be encouraged to live stream performances on Twitch Creative? Do you think that's the direction they're kind of wanting to go to?
That's something they do. They can also just live stream when they're noodling around and trying to create music as well. And quite often they could just sort of riff and maybe talk through it and talk about what they're creating, what they're doing, why they're doing it well. So that's it's not just for live performances. It's more for even raw music and learning how to do it.
We're having a little bit of problems with your audio there, Dean, and if you can just hang in there. Maybe speak up a little bit. It's a little. It sounds like you're coming from outer space. But a quick question: do they define what an artist is? Can anybody show up and say, "Oh, I'm an artist. I'm going to do a stream"? For example, can I do a stream? I consider my work an art. Can I put a camera on myself and stream myself typing, or will they boot me off?
Yeah, you can do that.
I'm doing it.
Anything you want. I think they also have. A carousel there that highlights the best artists, and so you may not show up in the carousel, which is basically the front page of Twitch Creative. They have a way of directing who they want.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dean, but the audio is just not working. Okay. And I think we're going to have to move on. Skype sometimes just doesn't cooperate, and today's one of those days. Okay. Dean Takahashi is at venturebeat.com and on Twitter at DeanTak. That's DeanTak. Dean, thank you so much for joining us on Tech News Today.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye. In product update news, new test builds of Windows 10 Mobile and Windows 10 for PCs support the Chromecast-like casting of content via Microsoft's Edge browser. The content can be cast to any Miracast or DLNA-enabled device on the network. Some content isn't supported, such as streams from Netflix and Hulu, but most content is supported. So, for example, YouTube content is supported. And Christina Warren, this seems like a really good feature. When Chromecast first came out, everybody thought, oh, wow, this is like amazing. It's really inexpensive. But I think that casting is going to become a universal banality at some point.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's interesting that they're supporting Miracast and DLNA, and I think that's smart because there are obviously tons and tons of devices that support both of those things. The Xbox being one of them. I'll be curious to see if they ever adopt the pure cast SDK and APIs. The Google and Netflix work together to kind of create because it's an open standard. It would be interesting if they would support that because then they could support Hulu or Netflix.
Yeah, absolutely true. Well, 9to5Mac is reporting that Apple is working on a weird solution to its even weirder charging problem for the upcoming Apple Pencil, which is a stylus for use for the soon-to-be-released iPad Pro tablet. Apple demonstrated at the introduction of the Pencil that it charges when you remove the top and insert the exposed lightning port into the lightning charging port on the bottom of the iPad Pro, which makes the tablet and the pencil together look like a picket sign or something. Obviously, it would be better to charge the pencil using a standard iPhone charging cable, but the problem is the device end of both the cable and the pencil are male sides of the charging port, so that wouldn't work. So now, according to 9to5Mac, Apple's working on a connector to enable the iPhone to charge, the iPhone charger to charge the pencil. Christina Warren, I don't know about you, but I think this whole way of charging the pencil seems extraordinarily un-Apple-like. It seems so awkward to have this long pencil sticking out of the bottom of this giant tablet as their solution.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. I mean, I like the idea that you can literally plug it in for, 30 seconds or a minute and get, almost a full charge. I mean, I love the quick charging aspect of that, or maybe not almost a full charge, but you can at least use it for another hour or so. I mean, I think that's really compelling, and that's probably why they have that feature. But you're right. It looks a little awkward. It seems a little awkward. And now that they're going to have a lightning male to female adapter cable, that's a little odd too. But I think that the idea it has to be that they want it to be something that you don't think about having to charge, that, if you need a little quick top me off, you can plug it in for 30 seconds. And what better way to charge it than on the device that has a huge battery attached to it already? I understand that, but I'm with you. It does seem there's a certain inelegance, at least from what we've seen, and we'll get to see more as the device gets closer to release. But my little bit of time kind of playing with it, the hands-on demo station at the launch event, they didn't show off the charging thing too much other than showing how you could plug it in. And I don't disagree. It seems a little un-Apple.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough to call, I think, the difference between, or which pencil or pen is superior, Microsoft's pen, or the Surface Pen, or the Apple Pencil, because on the one hand, I'm guessing that the Apple Pencil is going to be more sophisticated technology-wise, the way that they've redesigned the screen, and they have it's pressure sensitive, and it knows how it's leaning and all that kind of stuff. It seems really elegant in that sense. But the Microsoft Surface Pen magnetically attaches. It's got an eraser. It doesn't need to be charged at all. You have to, I guess, have to swap out the battery once a year, or charge it once a year, something like that. You basically normally don't have to deal with it. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to call at this point.
I think it's really going to come down to how well it works for the people who want to use it. I don't think that having to charge it even once a day is a big deal. Honestly, I don't think that's a big deal. I think for me the bigger deal is the fact that the Apple Pencil doesn't attach to the side of the iPad Pro. I think that Microsoft doing that with the new Surface Pro 4 is really, really smart. But yeah, I mean, I think we're just going to have to wait to see what artists think, because I think things like wrist detection and how well it can really kind of fit into your workflow, that's going to be the sort of thing that will really determine what's best and what's not. And let's not forget about the fact that Wacom has been doing this sort of thing for a long time with the Cintiq and other devices, and so it'll be interesting to see how both of them in the long run kind of stack up to those sorts of input devices that have been around for such a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I let Apple off the hook here, I'm also concerned about the fact that when you charge it, you have to take the cap off. Now you've got this little piece of plastic that can easily fall behind the table. The dog can eat it. So it's this awkward, again, un-Apple like problem that has been created. And so, I guess that people could use this for years without ever losing that little cap. But I'm predicting that I am going to lose mine, and my pen's going to live without it at some point.
Yeah, it'll live without it, or people will start selling replacement pens or replacement other tips, and there will become a whole market for that. No, I'm with you. It's totally going to be one of those things that you lose. But and I'm annoyed too that you can't just attach it to the side of the iPad. And it doesn't look like there's even going to be a slot for it with the new touch cover. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I mean it's a little awkward. But we're only a couple of weeks away, I guess, now from getting released. So we'll
find out. Yeah, I think the home run would be, and I don't know if it's technically feasible, but it should attach magnetically like the Microsoft product, and then charge wirelessly like the keyboard for the Pixel C, which the keyboard in the Pixel C you don't plug it in, it charges by its proximity to the tablet. Again, I don't know if it's possible in a thin pen, but that would be the ideal thing for it to charge wirelessly as it's attached. But again, that's probably too hard to do, and maybe that's something they'll be able to do in the future.
Yeah. I will give them credit for making it have a Lightning connector. If you're going to have a weird way of charging it, I do at least like that everything is going Lightning. I mean, the new
Yes.
Apple TV remote has Lightning. You know,
The mouse.
the mouse, the keyboard, the trackpad. I'm really glad that Apple's standardizing on that, and so that's at least a positive thing.
Yes, it is.
And honestly, it's probably not a bad thing for us to get a male to female or a female to female, Lightning connector adapter cable at some point, because then that kind of opens up the idea that, you could kind of chain those things together at some point too. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. We will see. Well, we got some news you can use coming right up. At first, let's talk about Wealthfront, one of our sponsors today. A lot of times I see a disparity between how easy it is for people to invest and how likely it is for people to invest. So what I mean by that is that younger people in their 20s, tend to not think too much about investment. People who are older than that tend to think more about it. And I guess that kind of makes sense to a certain extent. But really, if you're in your 20s, if you're a young person, if you're younger than 20, you want to start investing immediately, because if you invest early, it's just so much better. I've seen charts where it says how much you'd have to squirrel away and invest if you want to have X amount by retirement, whatever age that is. And it's just night and day. It's pennies when you're really young that grows into a huge amount of money. And so you really want to start investing right away, even if you think you're too young to worry about it. That's the time to do it. That's when it's easy to do, and that's when you get the best returns by far. And of course, Wealthfront is an easy way, the modern way, to do your investments. Traditional advisors charge enormous fees, 1% and 3% of what you got in management. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. They also charge you hidden fees for transactions and charges and so on. With Wealthfront, it's completely different. You pay only 0.25% a year and 0 commissions and 0 hidden fees. That's about $5 a month. That's less than $5 a month for a $30,000 account. And there are no additional charges for any of Wealthfront's services. And so it's just a great way to go. They're so smart about how they handle your money and about how they do the investment part of it. It doesn't matter whether you have a personal or joint or retirement account. It's very transparent and accessible. It puts all of your accounts into one place so you can see all your investments together in one place. And they use sophisticated investment strategies. And whenever there's a move to be made, they will make that move with your money so you can grow it in the most efficient way possible. Wealthfront manages over $2.6 billion in client assets. What a company. Visit wealthfront.com/TNT to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. You see the customized allocation they recommend for your profile. And just for Twit listeners and viewers, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 entirely free of charge for life. Claim your offer today at wealthfront.com/TNT, and we thank Wealthfront for their support of Tech News Today. For compliance purposes, I have to tell you that Wealthfront Inc. is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Brokerage services are offered through Wealthfront Brokerage Corporation, member FINRA, and SIPC. This is not a solicitation to buy or sell securities. Investing in securities involves risks, and there is a possibility of losing money. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Please visit wealthfront.com to read their full disclosure. Well, in news you can use, the people behind the Onion router, better known as Tor, unveiled today a beta version of a secure anonymous chat app. Most spectacularly, Tor Messenger, as it's called, enables chat via services that are banned in various countries. For example, it enables chats via Facebook in China, where Facebook is blocked. Also supported are Google Talk, Twitter, Yahoo, IRC, and other platforms. Christina, Warren, this looks pretty cool so far, although I have to warn people, this is still beta. They themselves are saying if your life depends on it, if it's super important for your security, don't rely on this yet. It's still a beta. We're working the bugs out, and this will be super secure in the future. But in the meantime, please test it out.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think that that's a fair point for them to make, but I think that even with those caveats in place, this is still going to be far more secure than just using these platforms as they exist right now. A lot of people don't know how to use OTR, the off-the-record protocol.
Yeah.
You can get plugins for different services, including, they've been available for a long time, and you've been able to get them for those services, but setting them up is kind of a pain, even for technical people. I've had to create, like wiki-style documents in the past to show people how to turn on OTR so that we could have a conversation over, Google Hangouts or another pigeon-based XML-RPC, like kind of protocol thing. And Tor doing this, I think, is great. And this is the sort of thing that could potentially make it much easier for people in all kinds of situations, or in countries that, make it hard to communicate, have secure communication. So I'm a fan anytime that's in the works, even if it's not completely 100%, save your life secure now. I think it's great that they're working on this.
Absolutely. And it's one of the sub stories with the big Snowden revelations that, of course, have changed everything in the world of what people know about who's snooping on whom and how and all that kind of stuff. Initially, Glenn Greenwald, who's the main journalist behind these leaks, he was contacted by Edward Snowden. And Edward Snowden basically contacted him and said, listen, Glenn, I have mind-blowing revelations for you about what's going on in the NSA. Please use PGP, and I will get you these documents. And Glenn Greenwald basically did what lots and lots of people did and said, I don't know what that is. I don't really want to deal with that. It's confusing, and I'm not going to deal with it. And it was literally a period of months before Laura Poitras, I believe her name is, convinced him and showed him how to do PGP, have a secure way to communicate, and then those docs came in, and then the world was then changed. Because
exactly. He had, Edward Snowden had to reach out to Laura to basically, get Glenn on board, and he had to kind of create a document to kind of walk him through the PGP process. And you think about how different. I mean, I guess. Thank goodness Laura kind of intervened, and that Snowden didn't just take no for an answer, I guess, so to speak. And they were able to get it sorted out, because having that information has been remarkably important. But I think it just goes to show how important it is to make this sort of technology accessible, because it's not always, and not even just for state secrets, right? I mean, that's one thing, right? But you think about places like they're talking about, China, where they block a lot of these services, or places where war is breaking out, or even just wanting to have a conversation with a journalist that's not about something that's life or death, but that you want to know can be private, is, I think, in growing importance, especially as government insight, government oversight into communications are becoming more and more of a thing and are becoming more and more legal. I think a lot more regular people are starting to think about the fact that, maybe I don't want to have a record of this going through, these sorts of channels. Maybe I want to have a communication that's, as encrypted as possible.
There's nothing wrong with insisting on having the ability to communicate privately. So it's like, and people should get into it. And the more the more easy to use these features become, the better and easier it'll be. And of course, this is usable with existing contacts. That's one of the great things. It's compatible with the Jabber chat protocol. So this should be a really cool deal, and I think lots and lots of people will probably use it. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Hobie the dog, who posted this picture on Instagram. There's Hobie. He's a service dog. Apparently, according to this Instagram account, this is the greatest dog ever. According to the account. I think it's...
He's super cute.
Yeah, super cute dog. And
look at you up there on that tablet.
That's right. Absolutely. Hobie the dog. We get a lot of dogs watching the show. It's absolutely amazing. But yeah, that is a cool looking dog. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup or your dog and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. And please use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT so we can find your picture. Christina Warren, what are you doing this weekend? Are you dressing up and going out, or what's going on?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going to be playing with my Apple TV a lot. So maybe watching some Halloween episodes on TV. No, I don't know. I live in Brooklyn. So it's there are definitely going to be some good Halloween parties. Probably check some of those out. Go to Williamsburg or something, where it's always Halloween. I'm kidding.
Didn't someone at Mashable dress as Christina Warren last year?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Someone came as someone dressed as me. That was a fantastic thing. Christina Ascani, who now is a photographer for National Geographic, came as me. And that was, to me, I think, like the best compliment ever, that someone dressed up as me. And it was very easy to be me. It was just like wear a Lacoste hat and have some headphones around her neck and talk a million miles an hour.
And a sign that said, I'm Christina Warren or something.
Basically, yeah, that's what she said. Yeah, that's what it had. It was great.
That is awesome. All right, Christina, well, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye, Mike.
Bye-bye. Let us know what's on your mind. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. That's 260-868-7469. You can subscribe to Tech News Today, and you absolutely should subscribe to Tech News Today on your favorite podcast app, or you can choose some other way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. You can also watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1700 UTC at twit.tv/live. And you can subscribe to our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. On that subreddit, you can give us feedback on our stories, or you can upvote stories you'd like to see us cover. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Elgan. And please don't miss our other news show, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific every single weeknight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. The show is produced by Jason Cleanthus and edited by Kevin King. My name's Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Monday.